Hello friends! Today it is time for my November review. If you're new here, my name is Kat and I make videos about books, writing, some travel vlogs and other things living rent-free in my no-division brain. Without further ado, let's look into the highs and lows of the month. In terms of highs, I did quite a bit of traveling this month. Like the first 2 weeks of November, I've been to Porto for work and I extended my stay by a few days so that I could visit the city. I went to Milan with my husband to celebrate his birthday, and then in kind of stopovers on the way we also went to Toulouse, which is a couple of hours away from where we live. I really enjoyed all those travels. I think it was really lovely. In Porto, as I said, I was there for work, but also had a few days there by myself to visit. I really enjoyed Porto. I was surprised by how many people there were, even though it was like the beginning of November and it's not really the high season for traveling. It was still very crowded with a lot of tourist groups, which was surprising to me. But I really liked the vibe of the city. It's a very beautiful city with a lot of charms, and I really enjoyed, like the ambience and the vibe. There were a lot of buskers in the street. People were just drinking port wine by the river and listening to music. It was very chill and very nice. But I have to be honest, my favorite was Milan. I absolutely loved it. And for some reason, apparently it's not one of the favorite Italian cities, but I really liked it. I think the center where you have like the historical buildings was quite impressive by the size of some of those buildings. It's quite huge and again impressive, and I will have like a separate vlog for it. But yeah, I also like that there were other parts of the city that I think are a bit less touristy and visited that are quite charmful as well. I had this very strong urge to speak Italian while I was there, but I don't speak Italian, which was very frustrating, and I've been wanting to learn the language for a few months now. I started a little bit on Duolingo. Don't ask me about it, I don't have good things to say. But yeah, I'm quite keen to maybe start learning Italian because it sounds very pretty, and it's kind of strange because I've been to Italy quite a few times before, and it's only on my third visit to Venice last year that I really fell in love with the city of Venice, and then by extension with the country of Italy, and then I've been more curious about the language, the food and all of that. So yeah, I'm starting to develop a new obsession with Italy, which I don't know if it's a good thing because I already have too many obsessions, but that's what we're dealing with at the moment. And then another high at a much lower scale was that I did give away a first batch of books to my library, and it was just such a nice moment. Like the librarians who are working there were so happy about the books that I gave them, and they were just like very enthusiastic and very grateful for it. So it was a very nice feeling. Also because I had different genres, I had to go to the different floors to give them to give the books at the right places, so I got to see a lot of the librarians there. It was really lovely. I really enjoyed that, and I'm also quite happy to be able to give back to this library because it's a place I go quite often. It's a place that I really love and that I get a lot from, even if I don't necessarily like check out a lot of books because I read mainly in English. But yeah, it feels like a safe space for me at the moment, and so I'm happy to have small ways to give back to it and to contribute. Now, in terms of low, I have one which I already mentioned on the channel in a previous video, but when we came back with my husband from our travels, we started the heating again, and it worked for a couple of hours before just stopping. And so we had someone come to check it, but like it was a full week before we could get a straight answer on what was going on. And unfortunately we need to change the whole boiler, or like the whole system, which is not really the kind of news that you want to hear, but also for a number of factors around the fact that we want to do some renovations on the house regarding energy efficiencies and things like that. It's very likely that we won't have central heating for the whole of winter this year. So yeah, that's not fun, and like we have ways to deal with it in the meantime, but it's obviously not ideal. But yeah, that's again what we're dealing with at the moment, so trying to do the best with what we have and really enjoying the warmer days when it's in the 20s in November. I don't think it should be that warm, but I won't complain because on those days I don't feel too cold, so that's I'll take that win. Now, in terms of favorites for the month of November, I do have a few. First of all, well, I mentioned Milan, which I absolutely adored. I also watched like a video in 2 parts from the Days and Words channel, where he interviewed Elise, who is a French girl who learned Norwegian by herself at a very high level. I will link the 2 videos in the description below. I thought it was a super interesting conversation. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit bittersweet. It's still a favorite of mine for this month, but it was a bit bittersweet because the videos both made me super happy and motivated and quite sad. It made me super happy and motivated because, as I said, when I was in Milan, I had this urge to speak Italian, and I was very frustrated that the words were not coming out of my mouth because I just don't know them. And so watching the video kind of reinforced that urge to learn Italian and my appetite for the language. And at the same time, it was a bit sad because, again, like, I feel like I mention it in every video and I don't want to bring the mood down too much, but I've been really struggling this year with my mental health, and that means that I don't necessarily have the energy to do the things that I want to do, that I would be excited about. Everything feels like it's difficult, it's quite draining, and so it's kind of that battle and having to reconcile those 2 things that made it a bit bittersweet. But I'm working on it. It's always kind of a slow process and it's not an easy fix, but again, I'm doing what I can. I'm trying to get help and again do all the things to get better. So hopefully I'll be back to my normal self with like better energy. I'm also like taking iron and vitamin D supplements and stuff like that, so working on it. I'm still a work in progress. Also, one thing that they were talking about in one of those videos was the feeling you get when you love language learning, and then like when you've learned other languages but then suddenly you travel to a place where you don't speak the language, and how weird that feels. That was so relatable to me because for the longest time my travels were dictated a lot by languages, and the language I was learning, the language I was excited about. I again like used to live in Sweden. That was the result of me starting learning Swedish. So yeah, I just love to be in another country and be able to have at least a basic conversation, and that was not the case for me when I was in Porto and in Milan. Like I was not able to have even a basic conversation, and that was very weird and very frustrating. So yeah, I really related to that bit of the conversation, and I found it super interesting and kind of reassuring that I was not the only one in that position. With the whole like November event that I was running this month, I found it interesting that Lamont, who is running the Days and Words channel, recently made a video about ADHD and having ADHD himself, and how they were talking with Elise on how they kind of get obsessive with a language. And I think this hyper focus is kind of one of the positives of having ADHD, or other forms of neurodivergence as well, and they were talking about how not everybody will relate to that and do the language learning in that way, like in the way that they do. And yeah, that got me thinking about neurodivergence and how that might impact how you approach language learning and how far you're able to go in a short amount of time. So that was also an interesting aspect of it. Okay, I have two other favorites that I will go through very quickly. The first one is a piece of clothing again. It's a pair of pants that I got from Uniqlo, and it's supposed to be like kind of cozy pants, like home pants for men, but honestly, I find them so comfortable and I think they look good. So I got them and I'm wearing them a lot, and I really enjoy it. I think I might dive a little bit more often into the men's aisle when I do shopping, because I mean, why not? Again, I think those pants fit me well. I find them comfortable. I think they look good, so why not? And then the final favorite for this month is that I discovered that McDonald's finally has vegetarian nuggets on their menu, which is something that I've been waiting for probably 15 years. So I was very excited to discover that, and I definitely went more than once this month to enjoy a vegetarian menu at McDonald's. Then a few other things that happened this month. I also did an online perfumery class this month. So they send you a little kit with different fragrance to smell. I don't know how you would call it in English. In French, it would be essence, but I think it's another word in English, but it's basically like the pure smell. And then they talked about where it's coming from, a little bit how it's produced, in what kind of perfumes it's been used, and all of that. That was super interesting. I really enjoyed it. And then also this weekend, like the last weekend of November, the Christmas market started in our town, the city where we live. So my husband and I went there and had a little tour. But yeah, it was really lovely to see the city bustling with people and see all the lights and all those Christmassy and festive things. Okay, moving on to writing and books. Yeah, in terms of writing, I haven't really done any writing this month, to be honest. First because I was traveling for 2 weeks, and then again because I was really not in the mental space to do some writing. So I was still joining my writing groups when I could, but I was doing other things. So if I want to get to 50,000 words by the end of the year, I need to make progress soon. And then in terms of books, I read 7 books and DNF'd 2. One is a soft DNF, but I talk more about all of that in my monthly reading wrap-up. In terms of books I acquired, yeah, that went a little bit overboard. So I acquired 25 books this month, of which 3 are ebooks and 1 was a surprise gift. And then I don't think I unhauled a single book this month. So yeah, the things are gonna change in 2025. I will speak more about my plans on that front in another video, but that was my month of November. A lot of good things this month, and I'm looking forward to see what December has in stock as well. I hope you enjoyed this little monthly review. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.